Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now today is Sunday, so you know what that means. We're going around the net with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance, and that's okay. Even though it was a short week, we still have some stories for you. More of a grab bag of sorts week, if you will. So of course, we will talk about BILT Rewards making changes. We will talk about the return of the Credit Card Competition Act again, trying to be a little bit sneaky, and Delta hates single people. Guess I gotta find a girlfriend after all. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, we will lead off with BILT Rewards and talking about our travel stories first. So BILT Rewards, like many other issuers or transfer partners, has been in the news because they're temporarily losing access to Emirates from May 27th, which has already technically happened, until June 19th. They're basically just pausing transfers for a little bit. Now, Citi, of course, had announced a while back that on July 27th, the transfer rate will be reduced from 1-to-1 to 1-to-0.8. Chase and American Express are pausing transfers between May 29th and 6/30 as well. I don't think it's going to affect too many people here, but again, it looks like they're all trying to reorg and figure out what the new rates are going to be. Citi just outright cut the rates. I imagine this pause could potentially be for those guys to kind of figure out, hey, are we going to have to match the same rates or what? Some more details to come if that is you, but not to be sad because BILT's also adding someone else. They are always adding transfer partners, which is a good thing to see because they had a press release technically about a week ago, but they're adding Qatar Airways Privilege Club Avios, which isn't surprising because I believe they have the other Avio earning airlines as well. But the transfer ratio will be 1-to-1. So again, 1,000 BILT points, you get 1,000 Qatar Airways Avios. What else do they say? Well, premium travel experience. Of course, Qatar Airways offers award-winning service. I mean, no one ever says our service sucks, but so the rest of this you don't really need to know about too much. All that to say is they are adding new one. I believe it started May 22nd, so a little bit behind on this, but overall, again, more options, the better. Now, if you're still flying around and maybe you're going to SFO and you're one of those loyalist American Express folks, well, don't be surprised if you try to go to the Centurion Lounge and it is in a different location or even temporarily closed, because new notice out that SFO, the Amex Centurion Lounge there, will be closed, and they're going to open a temporary lounge, and that will be in Terminal 2. So again, they put the current lounge is Terminal 3, so you've got to just go one more terminal over. Really, they just said they're going to undergoing modernization, and so the new lounge is expected to open in Q3 of 2027. So it's going to be a while, but in the meantime, American Express plan to have temporary lounge. The temporary lounge is in Terminal 2. My bad, and that'll be in mid to late June if you are going to SFO. So if nothing else, at least they are putting those annual fees to good use and trying to keep up in the game of the lounge wars. We've seen through other folks, I think Sebi has done some Centurion Lounge tours, like the ones that got revamped in either JFK or LaGuardia. I can't remember which one was which. And, they do look nice to their credit. Coming back from Denver, I remember just a massive line to get into the Centurion Lounge. But we don't need to make this lounge wars. Again, it's just nice to see them continuing to support the product and at least offering an alternative for travelers, while they are upgrading or modernizing, the lounge, given how much you pay for the cards. I think that is fair. So I will say good on American Express for supporting their product and their customers through the change. Now, someone who is still supporting you but making it a little bit harder as we continue on with our travel stories is Clear. So Clear, the kind of sort of shortcut through airport security, and it does work at other venues. They have another price hike coming. So specifically, Clear price will increase to $209. And it's currently $109. So, it's not necessarily going to break the bank here, but that's going to happen on July 1st of 2025. So if you're planning on buying it outright, TPG says that, of course, you've got till July 1st before the price increase goes up. Now, the credits on the Amex cards that offer the Clear benefit will also go up to $209 as well. So again, for most people here, I think even I had it for a year from doing a video on it. This is probably 2 or 3 years ago, from the Clear credit on, I think it was the Platinum card at the time. So, on one hand, price increases do suck. On the other hand, it's kind of the point of the credit cards is hey, no one actually pays for this, like Priority Pass. No one really, so I'm sure someone pays for it, but no one really pays for Priority Pass. No one really pays for Clear anymore, just like no one really pays for Global Entry anymore. And I guess, as these things start to cost more over time, which we've consistently seen, it could make the credit card more advantageous. The problem is the credit cards then hike the fee as well. But it's really just how you value it. So again, let me know down below what your plans are with that. Now, we're talking credit cards, we're talking benefits. The old Credit Card Competition Act is back in the news, right? So the Credit Card Competition Act, the summary was basically merchants, retailers had complained a lot that it's kind of like Visa, MasterCard, kind of have a monopoly because of the card's a Visa card. You can only use it on the Visa network, and Visa sets the fees for the network, right? And so there's no competition, right? I mean, because they have the card. And so the idea was that, you'd have to have like a Chase Sapphire Preferred on a Visa, and then it would also have to be able to be ran on the MasterCard network, for example, or any other real network. It didn't have to be MasterCard. Amex, I believe, was exempt because operating a payment network was their core business, and I think so was Discover, which is now owned by Capital One. Anyways, TPG has this story as well, where Credit Card Competition Act is back, more or less, this time in a tricky manner. So, straight from their site, he says, bad news for fans of points and miles. Some U.S. senators are trying to push the Credit Card Competition Act as a poison pill amendment in pending legislation that's up for a vote in Congress. So, Senator Roger Marshall, a Republican from Kansas, filed an amendment last week on behalf of himself and Dick Durbin, the guy who killed debit card rewards, I believe, and is trying to do it again here, who's a Democrat from Illinois, to add the Competition Act to the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation in U.S. Stablecoins Act, which is codenamed Genius, I believe, Genius. It's basically, that one's got bipartisan support, and initially it seemed like likely to pass the Senate with more than the key threshold of 60 votes. Proponents of the legislation claim it will allow for better regulation of cryptocurrency. So that's really, as they basically want to tie it together. Like, hey, if you want this one, then you're voting for that. You're also voting for credit card competition, which, again, most people are kind of against. Vice President J.D. Vance is also demanding a clean vote without the Credit Card Competition Act attached. So there you go. Just kind of, I think I hadn't heard anything about the Credit Card Competition Act in a while. TPG goes on. They did pull some fun stats out of it. They said a study by the International Center of Law and Economics estimated that the cap on interchange fees for debit transactions hit large banks' annual revenues to the tune of $6.6 to $8 billion. This loss in revenue directly contributed to the reduction in free checking accounts and rewards programs. So he's talking about the last time they killed debit cards. That was back in 2010. So again, they're saying, hey, well, you can't make as much in debit cards over here, and you get a debit card with a checking account. Well, I'm going to make them out over here, either make the checking account cost more money or make you use it more to avoid the fees. Again, people have kind of guessed that if they do this, then, the way you save money on credit cards would be to reduce the rewards and potentially even hike the interest rates higher. I don't know, maybe, maybe not. Again, we don't really need to get too far into this yet, but I don't know. I mean, because it also presumes that like Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, like I don't know that they care, right? Like I think they could go to like MasterCard and be like, hey, well, look, this is what we're going to get out of our swipe fees. You price in what you need to price in, and sure, it can be a Visa, MasterCard combination. I know they also wanted to cap interchange fees and things like that. If they capped interchange fees, that would be a problem. If they just made it so you had to, run it on the same network. Maybe the smaller banks would start using some pop-up payment networks, but there's still not really anything there, I don't think, to make them, venture out into competitive networks, pop up new networks. But capping swipe fees could potentially do that. But I still think they'll find other ways. And my conspiracy theories that most people in the government want to stay away from credit card rewards because they know, right? They could easily tax them if they wanted to, but it's basically like us carrying around an Apple AirTag with us, and I believe the government would rather us to keep doing that so they can easily track us, know what we're buying, make it that much easier than just to get some tax revenue. That's my conspiracy theory. So there you go. Now, if you are into credit card rewards and you fly Delta, well, the rewards might not even be enough to offset. This news story, I believe it's from Frequent Miler, that says Delta charges more for single lonely people flying than it does couples, or at least people flying, with a companion, a player too. It doesn't have to be a girlfriend, but I'm not buying you a ticket if you're another dude, so it's probably a girlfriend or a wife. So anyways, we take a look at this. These are two funny stories to close us out. Thrifty Traveler, excuse me. So Delta has been charging solo passengers more per ticket than travelers booking for 2 or more on select flights. For example, Delta is charging at least $199 for one passenger on this one-way flight from Minneapolis to Miami in early September, but search for 2 passengers instead of the price, and the price drops to just $118 per ticket. He goes on to say, while it's not widespread, this discount for 2+ travelers or pricing penalty for those flying solo doesn't appear to be a glitch. Delta indicates it's by design in its arcane fare rules, where airlines carve out requirements and exceptions in order to sell tickets at certain prices. So there you go. This whole time I've just been getting nickeled and dimed for flying alone, sitting next to strangers. That is interesting. I do wonder how they decide which routes, Minneapolis being a hub, Miami being a popular destination, maybe there, but if you're going to, I don't know, Des Moines, Iowa or something, like, no one's going there, sure. I don't know. I will play around with that next time I book something to see, because I always book tickets for just me. So this does affect me. Maybe it doesn't affect any of you guys out there. But Delta taking advantage of the lonely people. Brutal. So I just thought that was funny. It's not really newsworthy, I don't think. And this last Delta story, again, just throwing it in here, this was a short week. This actually came up in my Reddit feed, and it's like 2 years old, a year old. I don't know why this came up, but I thought it was interesting, and you might as well, or maybe you've already seen it. So Delta Airlines, again, this was in when their 2023 10K filing. So they have a line item, I'll put it on the screen for you, it says a fuel card obligation. We have a purchasing card with American Express for the purpose of buying jet fuel and crude oil. The card carried a maximum credit limit of $1.1 billion as of December 31st, 2023, and must be paid monthly. At both December 31st and 2023 and 2022, we had $1.1 billion outstanding on this purchasing card, and the activity was classified as financing activity in our cash flow statement. So not only do they have $1.1 billion line that Amex gives them, they certainly use it, which again makes a ton of sense. I mean, I don't think they're actually earning any points. It's like a corporate or commercial cards. If you log on to Amex, there's the small business, which is what all the cards we go after are. Then technically they do have one above that. I think it's if you make 4 or 5 million a year in revenue or something, then you go to their commercial side, which is again for much larger businesses. Those are those plain Jane green cards everyone had for the longest time. Like when you were traveling, that was the corporate card that most of us got. Well, I never had one, but my boss had one. Anyways, right? I just thought the number was funny, and yes, we do have to pay it, every month, like you would expect. So there you go. If Amex ever sweats you over, those or what do they used to call them? Those monthly flexible payment options, right? Or they sweat you over purchase power. Just remember, Delta's got $1.1 billion. You think for $1.1 billion, you could let a sad person fly where they want to fly alone in peace for a few extra dollars. But hey, we can only ask for so much. Anyways, that has been the news for this week. So of course, if you liked it, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. So we're posting content just like this every single week. And of course, right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And of course, every single day over on profitablecontent.com, which is the channel's blog. It's always linked down below for you and on the channel homepage. Again, we post the latest news stories. We have plenty more bank promotions over there. Of course, we have credit card offers, some with clear benefits, some from American Express. So you want to sign up for you and a player or two to use that, companion pass once you're on the Delta Platinum. We got you covered. But anyways, guys, that'll do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon this week.